fellow Cajians, to another episode of the Church of Cage. Do you think that the Jesus that guy saw was Nick Cage Jesus in the movie?
It might as well could have been. Yeah, it could have been. It could have been. I'll tell you what.
Let's just say it was. It was.
Look, bro. I'll tell you something. This is one of those movies. Interesting point of trivia. This is the first
Nicolas
movie
Cage as Jesus Christ.
There you go. Does it say who Jesus is in the credits at all?
I'm not sure. I don't think they do, but let me see. I want to say they might.
So today we're going to be talking about World Trade Center. And before we get into it, Danny, how are you, bro?
Yeah. I'm doing quite well, man. I can't complain. How about you? You had a good week?
I think so. Yeah, I think I did. So I have a confession. I did indulge in some extracurricular cagery. I did watch Mandy because I did get a new action figure. Mandy action figure, Red Miller. Here. You can't really see it, but it's Nick Cage there. And I don't know if you watched it yet or not, bro, but on this podcast, we are 1 degree of separation away from Nick Cage. I did do the episode with Wes Cage.
I saw that.
And I think we're good friends, bro. I don't know.
Hey, that's awesome, bro.
I think we're good friends. I think here's the crazy part, Daniel. Here's the crazy part. And you were a witness to this weird thing that happened. Because the day after we started this show, that night, in fact, it
was that night, yeah.
The night after we started this show, he follows me back on Instagram. Now,
we're talking about Weston, right?
We're talking about Weston, yeah. Nick Cage, from my knowledge, doesn't have social media. But here's the thing, dude. What are the chances of... I've been following this guy for 2 years, I think. Over 2 years on social media. I had wrote to him a DM when my show probably had I think 200,000 downloads. We're almost at 1.5 million downloads now. So it just comes to show you how much time and how much growth there was from the first time I wrote to him to now. And I'm like, I texted you the picture. I'm like, bro, this dude following me.
Yeah.
What were the chances of that happening, dude? That the day, it's fine. He can follow me whenever, but the day after we start this show is when Weston follows me back on Instagram.
It's the power of Cage, man. Listen, Nick Cage is magic.
Nicolas Cage.
It works in mysterious ways.
Dude, so I waited a couple of days and then I shot him a message. And so hopefully we can get him on this show one day and talk about his movies. But here's the I could feel. So when he got on, dude, he gave me a look, and I think the look was because he saw the stuff.
I was gonna ask you, how was the, for those listening in audio, if they need a reminder, can you remind them what it is you got right behind you, in case they can't see?
Just some Nick Cage merch, bro. That's it, dude. Don't make it weird, bro. Don't be weird about it, dude. I don't gotta be weird about it. Okay.
I just wonder if that was the first thing he saw.
Here's the funnier part, dude. You ready for this?
What?
So the funny part was, I was waiting for the show to tell you this. The hilarious part was that you see this freaking background here. So when I had sent him the invite, I told him, I said, hey, I'm going to be on 5 minutes before just to run a sound check and we could chit chat for a little bit. I jump on, and thank God he hadn't jumped on, because this was the background, bro. This background that we have now was the background of So imagine if he would have jumped on.
God.
It would have scared him away, bro. It would have scared him
Yeah.
away. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's too much. Like, I'm afraid to put the show out, bro, because what if he sees me in a different... But again, I mean, he's got to be used to it. Like, he's got to be used to his dad.
He probably is, bro. I mean, how many times would he have any, like, interactions or even, like, gone on different podcasts and they just ask him about nothing but his dad and all this stuff? I mean, it's one of the things that I would expect anyone that comes from like a famous family or something like that, because it probably is a different type of lifestyle, because you got to make it your own way. You know what I'm saying? Whether he wants to have his dad's name attached to him or not. I mean, I am not familiar with his material or any of his works as you are, but I would expect that, yeah, there is a different level of difficulty, or at least a different way of approaching, okay, how do I separate myself from what came before through the works of my dad or anyone related to me?
Well, I covered that. I asked him, I was like, how does it feel to have such big shoes to fill? Because, I mean, those are big shoes. So,
oh, yeah, bro.
It was a little bit weird. We didn't address the Nick Cage stuff. I'm sure I'll have him back on. And like I said, I think it was a good first episode as far as
I would have
introduction.
faced it head on, bro. If I were him, I would say, so yeah, tell me about that. Well, what would have you done if he just like asked you like right away, like, hey, welcome to the show. So, my dad, why you got him behind you?
Is he actually a vampire? Tell me the truth, bro. Are they vampire? You know, like, again, dude, I mean, it is what it is. It's like, at one point I was like, yeah, dude, I think he's one of the greatest, one of the most prolific actors of all time, you know.
Tell me, why has he got the tomb in Louisiana? Oh my god.
So I feel like I kind of manifested that interview in a weird way, because for a while I was following Weston and I was just like reposting his stories and his posts and stuff like that in a joking way. And again, not in a disrespectful way, but in a way like, hey, you know, he's related to the GOAT. And I would post this stuff, and I shot him a message once upon a time, never hit me up. And then I waited a few days and I shot him a message, and immediately, bro, he wrote back. I was like, what? This is so bizarre. If you would have told me,
maybe it was the right time. You never know. Yeah.
Danny, the ritual is almost complete. Okay. So listen. All right, let's get into World Trade Center. This was 2006. Now, where were you when you were told about the whole thing when it went down?
So I was 8 years old in third grade. I remember it, bro, like, you got to remember, I lived in Jersey at the time, Elizabeth, New Jersey. So we were pretty close to like northern New Jersey, where it connects to like New York. Crazy thing about that is, like, I remember vividly, like, we went to a gym class, and at those times you only had one class. In like elementary, it was just one class, same group of kids, no matter what. I remember this kid, his name was Alex. He was my friend in that classroom. They called us both at the same time and during gym class. And they're like, hey, real quick, we got to tell you something, you know, this and that. And we're like, okay. And it's like, you know, 9 o'clock in the morning. Like, it's still, you know, you just started school. So we go and they say, hey, your parents are here to pick you up. And at that point, I lived on the same street where the school was. So the school was literally just like a few houses away. It was just a walk. But it was strange that my mom was picking me up, because normally I could just walk back home. So I was like, all right, something happened. I don't know, you know. And I see my mom's got that nervous smile, like, oh, hey, honey, you know, this and that. And I remember asking him, like, hey, what's going on? Because, like, I want to say a year or two before that, my dad had to get an operation done, because I think he had like kidney stones, or he had something wrong with him. And so I asked, is my dad okay? That was like the first thought. No, he's fine. We had family in New York. So by the time when she said like something happened in New York, I was like, oh, what, you know, what's going on? And she couldn't really find the words for it yet until we got back home, and she had the TV still on. So we were walking in, the TV was on, and like, bro, I felt like I was watching a movie because you gotta like, I was 8 at that time, so like seeing everything from a kid's perspective, bro, especially growing up, you don't like, it's hard to understand it because you're not grounded yet. You know what I'm saying? You're not, you have no full understanding of how that stuff is. So seeing all the news footage, and you got to remember, this is raw footage, bro. Like a lot of this stuff was happening in real time, and some of it was not censored at all. So you see, you know, bodies jumping, you see all the smoke, all the stuff, and people injured, moving around. So it was crazy. And not to make the story so long, but like reacting to that, I'm just like, bro, like my whole house, like my brother came back home, my sister came back home from like working or wherever they were at the time. And my dad was like one of the last ones to get back home. He was supposed to make a delivery out to the nearby the World Trade Center, but he had swapped that out with somebody else who was making a delivery around like, I want to say like, he said somewhere around like 6:30 or 7 a.m. So what was crazy is like, he then tells me that like, you know, after what had happened, the guy who made that delivery, like he still made it. Like he wasn't, you know, in the area when it went down. He says, I like, bro, like I went up to like this floor to deliver stuff. And like, what if, you know, I've been there an hour later or something like that, you know, and even the chances of like my dad avoiding that, he just traded that delivery with another guy, and a lot of pieces and stuff that, you know, just fate happened to happen that day the way that it did. And it's so crazy to think that I was the only way that I can say that I have any relation or connection to that was that one of my teachers of that 3rd grade had a brother that made it out. And it was crazy to go through that rest of that school year because that woman was not the same. Like when we started everything, she was like joyful, all this other stuff. After that day, bro, and it's like you could reflect that with everybody.
Her brother
like,
died in there?
No, he survived. But it's like you knew like that was a turning point. Even as a kid, you knew that something big had happened. We went to when like the day was ending, like when it was like the sun setting down and it was going to be nighttime, we went to Hoboken, which is right across New York. You know those famous pictures where you see the entire like New York skyline and all that stuff. We went to Hoboken, and bro, where we parked, we walked a really long time. But that entire time to make it to that point where everybody was just standing and stuff, bro, you could hear a pin drop. And like, it's so vivid to me now because like seeing all that stuff as a kid, you don't get it. You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, but you're living in that moment, and it was always kind of hard to like, you know, it's weird because for us, like depending on where you were, it's the closer you were to it, the more you felt it because there was a lot of anger, a lot of, you know, sadness, all that stuff. But one of the vivid memories I have was seeing the sunset as the sun was setting down. The sky was just filled with smoke, bro. Filled with smoke. You could just see that. And it's like my dad was carrying me. I always remember this. And just seeing that from far away was like, I'm never going to forget that, bro. It was crazy.
How long
after
scary, was it?
You know, this was, when we saw that was probably, I want to say probably like the day after, because there was still a lot of smoke and fires that they had to put out when the rubble came down. So it was like probably the following day. I know I said like it was like that same night, but I want to say it was probably the day after that we ended up going because school was out. I remember they closed the school down for like, I want to say a week or two or something. And yeah, dude, it was insane. Where were you when all this went down?
So I went to I think is it Cypress Elementary? The one it's in Lakeside. Like
okay. So you were still in Florida.
Yeah, I was in 2nd grade. I don't remember how old I was, but I was in 2nd grade, and actually that teacher was a family friend rest in peace. She died from cancer some years, a lot of years later, actually. She died from cancer. So I was in that class, and I remember they just took us to like the cafeteria, and I think my aunt went to go get me that day to school, and I don't remember much else after that other than everything else that was happening. If I was in second grade, I'd be like, what, 7 years old, something like that? Second grade. So
yeah, just about.
that's all I really remember. There was, I believe, some of because my aunt is from New York, and she had some family up there that were in the area, but not like they didn't work in the trade center or anything like that. But honestly, I don't remember much. But in the movie, when they're showing like all the different countries and all the different people, this is an event that quite literally resonated throughout the entire world, right? So it was a traumatic event. And now, I mean, I know we said all that, but do you believe it was an inside job, Daniel?
So I find it quite interesting. I was talking a little bit about the movie with a coworker, which is funny because, you know, bringing up conspiracy theories and all that stuff. I find it interesting that at least people from our generation, or at least in our age group that were growing up, there was an interesting shift. And I'm bringing it up because of the movie, and I know we're going to talk about Nick Cage and everything, but there's this interesting shift that happened after 9/11. Because media changed almost instantly, whether it was the realm of movies, you could talk about propaganda in terms of like the patriotism and stuff like that. It was all like pro-American, pro-military, like America, F yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like all that stuff. Because I felt like there was never a proper closure to what happened because of this event. Right. So the way that I kind of explained it to a coworker was because he's much younger than me. He's like, he was born in 2000, bro. So he was only like a year old. Yeah, exactly. So it's like, it's interesting because when you see someone from a different mentality and a different generation, it's almost like they can't relate to it because obviously they didn't live through that. For us, we pretty much were living through the dial-up age and like internet and everything was just taking off. So like from the beginning there, having everything change almost instantly to where now you couldn't include anything that would refer to, you know, 9/11, World Trade Center, anything like that. This movie is quite literally the first theatrical release that would depict the attacks on the World Trade Center, which with it being around 2006 is quite soon. You know what I'm saying? Like it didn't feel like it was enough time. I remember when the commercials would air for this movie and I was like, yeah, like even I felt weird about it because I remember asking my dad at that point, like, hey, are we going to watch that movie? You want to watch that movie? He's like, nah, not really. It just didn't really feel appropriate.
It didn't.
You know what I'm saying?
So I watched the movie before jumping on this episode because we had this episode scheduled early in the week and I didn't have time. And it's like reliving that trauma in a weird way. And it's, again, it kind of put a damper on my day because it's like, this is it wasn't now. We did have some Cage Rage moments. He's always got to put those moments in there. I counted 3 of them, okay?
Yeah. I know I alluded to it in the last episode, but did you get what I was talking about? Like that one specific scene that I'm like, it just took me right out, bro. When I first watched it like years ago, I was like, I don't know how I'd make it through the rest of the movie. And the one I'm talking about, well, let's talk about at least how this movie is in its entirety, right? Obviously,
one question before you get into that.
Go for it.
This movie grossed $163 million worldwide, right? It's August 9th, 2006.
On a budget of how much? How much was
on a budget of $65 million, okay? Now,
okay.
Would this movie have been as successful if it wasn't about the World Trade Center?
I think because, so you have a couple things. Around that point in time, Maggie Gyllenhaal, who plays Will Jimenez's wife, the main guy's wife, she had a controversial opinion at that point. Now, I want you to remember the point that we're talking about. This is still recent, right? She had come out and said that she felt, her opinion was that America was responsible in some way for the World Trade Center attack.
Bro, what? I mean,
yes. Look, if you look into it, she said that, and she wanted to opt out from doing the movie because she went ahead and said that. But because she was portraying the wife of the real life, character, which this is based off, they still gave her the blessing to play the wife in the movie. Not for Nicolas Cage, but for the other guy, for Will Jimenez, the real life portrayal. You know what I'm saying?
Wait, say that again. The what?
So the actress that I'm saying that she made that comment about.
Yeah, I'm pulling it up now.
Yeah, America being responsible in some way. She wanted to opt out from doing the movie because of the negative press and all that stuff.
18 years old, bro. What in the world?
Making us feel older.
Actor Maggie Gyllenhaal is she related to the other guy? The other
yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Man, these are all MK Ultra freaking actors, dog. I mean, this is all in the family type of thing. So has waded into sensitive political waters by raising questions about the September 11 attacks and U.S. foreign policy. Stars in the new wonderful film, which Aftermath. It stars in the great new wonderful.
It was a movie,
a film which deals with the aftermath. This is another one. Mm-hmm. So she said in the last interview that the United States is responsible in some way for the attacks. Yikes. I don't know. It was an occasion to be brave enough to ask some serious questions about America's role in the world. And I think this is all right. So continue what we're going to say, and then we'll get into it.
So what I was saying is, like, she wanted to opt out from doing the movie, but because she went to the real life counterpart that she was portraying, the wife, not of Nick Cage, but of the other guy. And she said, look, I don't want to give the movie negative press. This is a movie, representing you guys. And this is, telling your story. But she still was able to perform in the movie. They said, no, go ahead. You're fine. There's that. What I meant to say is that this movie came out at a point, and I think it helped it in some way, because there's many factors. One was, like I said, it was the controversy of that. The other controversy was that this movie was directed by Oliver Stone. So Oliver Stone is a known director of the JFK movie, of the conspiracy theory JFK, the one with the whole magic bullet and all that stuff. Him. He also did a movie many years later, I think in like the 2010s, he did the one that covered Snowden about
not a good look for our guy.
Yeah, he
did Scarface?
He did no, he was
he was a producer. He was a writer for Scarface.
He was a writer, yeah. He was a writer for Scarface. He directed what else? Oh my gosh, I'm already forgetting. I think he did Platoon. I think it was Platoon that he also did. Another, like, one of those war movies. He did W, which came out just a few years after that. That was like
all governments
making fun of. So here's the thing, right? This movie already had a lot of eyes on it because of who was attached to the movie, right? You had the controversy of statements being made about, like, hey, America feels responsible in some way. So a lot of people came into this movie thinking that this was going to be some type of, like, conspiracy theory filled type of movie. To be quite honest with you, this movie is very tame. And let me explain to you why. In my eyes, someone who was at least close enough, not, of course, there on the area or anything like that, but living where we were living, being a part of that culture and growing up and having that upbringing of going through the shift that was 9/11, pro-America, let's go bomb anybody, you know what I'm saying? Like, all the stuff that happened from that to then having the turning point of which was conspiracy theories, 9/11 was an inside job, all that stuff. Around that point in time, we were still at a very weird place because there were still people that were very, hey, we'd never had closure on this. let's, bomb everything and kill those responsible. Then we had the other ones that were like, I feel like there's a lot more going on here. So this movie kind of stood in a place where people said, what is this going to be? And to me, it felt very tame, because this is it's an adaptation. It's not a one-for-one recreation of what happened that day. And I think that's what bothers me the most, because one smart move that the director did was not show all the destruction of like the planes crashing and all this other stuff. He relied more on the reaction shots, which to me is very important, because I'll be honest with you, bro, the craziest stories that come out of 9/11 come from the people who survived that day, the first responders, the people that took it upon themselves to do something when you had no idea what was going on at the time. You got to remember, there were barely cell phone use as much as there is now with regarding smartphones and all that stuff. Information that was passing by at that time.
Well, you see it in the movie. You see the evolution of how much information was being presented as they're getting like, it was only one. Mm-hmm. No, it was two. Yeah. Now it's the Pentagon. Two. Now it's
Yeah. So to me, but to me, like, even with like the gore and the violence, or at least what was being portrayed, it felt very cheap, in the sense that I'm like, it doesn't correctly represent what's going on. So I'll give you an example. There's a scene where they get on the bus, right? And they're having the Port Authority, they go to the site of what's going on to help out. And you only ever get one shot of something. And let me explain what I'm trying to say here. One shot of something, one example, right? So when they're in the bus, you see the character of Will Jimenez look at what's going on out in the streets, and there's a guy who's laying there, and they're like attending to him. So from the point of view of the character and the real life character, yes, that happens, but you got to understand that there's something that happened that made him.
Yeah, I was wondering what happened to him. I'm like.
But they never explain it, which is smart, but also at the same time, it's it feels very weird, because it's like, well, what happened to them? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When you tell a story like this, yes, it's incredible that they were able to survive, but for being the first movie about the subject matter, to me, it felt like there was a lot of wasted potential. Number one, because they don't show a lot of anything in regards to the towers. You get one shot of the tower, which at that point they said, oh yeah, another tower hit, or which could have been the commotion at the time, because nobody knew what was going on. But when they look at the towers, like, okay, there's one shot of the towers, like with the smoke. Then when they show one of the jumpers that jumped out of the towers, you only get one shot of that. When you see somebody being helped out that was laying on the ground, you only see one shot of that. And then there's a lady covered in blood walking. There's only one shot of that. Now, am I saying, it would have been redundant if they kept showing stuff like that? In Hollywood terms, if you do a lot of repetitive shots, it feels too like, all right, they're kind of going for that. But you got to be like, okay, are we doing the real story? Because this is what actually happened. One of the things I was going to recommend, and if you ever had time for it, look, it will ruin your day and your mood, but this is one of those things that I always recommend everybody watch. It was a documentary called 9/11 One Day in America. It was released, I believe, through National Geographic was the one that released it. But this is all on the point of view of the people that lived that day and survived that day, whether it's first responders, firefighters, people that just happened to be around that day, the workers that were in the World Trade Center, all those people that survived. And the way they tell that story feels so much more genuine in a sense. And the raw footage that you get, because this is from news cameramen, people that just happen to be there visiting, bro, all that stuff. You get a sense of actually being there, as weird as that sounds. But it is so, like, dude, it's gut wrenching. It's actually funny in a few moments, because there's some stuff that gets brought up where it's like, oh shoot, like, is this what's going on? Oh, well, this and that. And it was part of what was happening in real time. You know what I'm saying? New Yorkers have that that wit and that stuff that they are just like, oh, somebody must have messed up. Like the first plane got hit the tower, and they thought, yo, who was stupid enough to fly into the tower? Huh? They thought it was just
one of my favorite lines was, right, because you were talking about the smoke, is that guy, which I don't know the guy's name, but he's famous too, where he's like, it's like God put up a curtain of smoke, because we're not ready to, because we're not ready to see what's going on. And the guy's like, all right, nutbag, like like what?
Yeah.
And here's the thing about this movie, because it's weird, and that's why I asked you, do you believe it would have been as successful as it was in a sense of box office, right? Because do you think that maybe they relied a little bit too much on people already knowing the history and already having lived through that? Because that's like, this movie's like watching The Passion of the Christ. We know what's going to happen at the end. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. To give context, it's more like they wanted to tell the incredible story of two people surviving what happened. And it's weird because on a movie perspective, it goes at breakneck speed. In my opinion, I feel like this movie should have started from the rubble and them waking up in the rubble and all that, realizing where they are, and then having the flashback of them getting to that point. Because I'm not kidding, bro. I probably paused the movie once and it was like 15 or 16 minutes in. And then they're already at the part where the towers collapse. Yeah. I'm like, bro, that was what is going on? And then the rest of the movie picks up from them being there, which in reality, the tower went down, I want to say like from 9:50 to like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock.
I'll look it up here.
Yeah. And the time that they got rescued was literally like quarter to midnight. So to give you a perspective of that, it's like, yeah, they were stuck down there for quite some time. And
yeah, it's one of these movies that like, so right now we have number of deaths, 2,996. And of course, right, terrorist attacks. This paved the way for the whole Baghdad, Iraq. We all know that. That was all part of it. Now,
yeah.
That's why a lot of people say it was this inside job. The guy that got paid out on the policy got paid out twice. It's just weird. So the attacks happened from 8:13 a.m. to 10:03 a.m. And that's a window of 2 hours. And they would have been in there. And I was wondering how long it would have taken. So the first plane hit at 8:46.
First plane hit 47, 8:46, 8:47, yeah.
The second one hit at 9:03. And then the West Wall of the Pentagon, 9:37. And then there was another one that I think they had shot one down, right? Or people said they shot it down.
People say they shot it down. United 93 that ended up in the
which is another movie, right?
Yes. So if you want a visceral,
check this out, bro. Check this out. Here, check this out. Total number of crew. So by the way, United Airlines 93. 93 is an important number.
United 93. Yep.
93 in the occult is an important number. It's the Lima. Total number of crew from all of the airlines, 33. Listen, dude.
Illuminati confirmed.
I'm just saying.
It's one of those interesting things too, because some of those planes, if I'm not mistaken, were like commuter planes or something. They didn't have a lot of people in them on a few of them.
So passengers, there was a total of 213 passengers, and there was a total of 19 hijackers. And yeah, I mean, listen, dude.
One of the interesting things about it being an inside job, if you really want to think about that, I used to believe in it for a couple of years, and then I was like, I'd be on and off about it. But one thing that always bothers me is that there is still a point. If you look something up, I know it was I went on like this deep dive of like iceberg videos regarding like 9/11 and stuff. They said that there's this thing in the stock market that happened at that point. Before the attacks.
No, dude. Right before the attacks was Donald Rumsfeld on 9/10 talking about the trillions of dollars that they had missed. They're like, hey, listen.
Yeah. How are you missing that? Yeah.
Well, and they
never got answered for it.
No, because of this event. So they couldn't account for like 2.3 or 2.6. So Donald Donald
trillion. Yeah, it was like $1 trillion.
Rumsfeld.
Yeah.
So 910. Let's see here. This guy says there's missing more than so the Pentagon was missing more than $2.3 trillion that they didn't know what happened. And oh, how convenient. Look, continue without supporting. Right there. I don't want to support you guys. Fact check. Rumsfeld did not reveal the loss of what? Hold on. Is this Mandela effect? Yeah, we'll just blame it on Mandela effect. So
what happened? 2.3.
So what they're saying is that he didn't do that. So Reuters is saying fact check. Rumsfeld did not reveal the loss of $2.3 trillion the day before. Bruh, this was the day before. So let's see here. This is the Post. 2.3. The Post misrepresents remarks made by Donald Rumsfeld, who was serving at the time as Secretary of Defense under former U.S. President George W. Bush at 2:15 mark. So when was it? So
it was like either the day before or something, wasn't it?
Made in a speech on September 10, 2001 at 14:15, which is 2:15 mark. 14:15 minutes, seconds. Rumsfeld says our financial systems are decades old. According to some estimates, we cannot track $2.3 trillion in transactions. We cannot share information from floor to floor in this building because it's stored on dozens of different technological systems that are inaccessible or incompatible. Bro, it's the same thing.
Let's just say, listen. If they can track how much money I have in my bank, and the money that I'll put into something, they say, hey, you need to pay up. I don't care. You got your money missing. We know where you put it in. How are you going to tell me that you don't know where that money went?
Bro.
How?
It's all, listen, let's focus on the movie. But I do want to talk a little bit about this because this is something I wrote down.
But to your point of what you brought up earlier, you would have thought that with the people attached to this movie, that they would have made it more like, okay, is this going to be based on some conspiracy theory thing? So I find it interesting why, number one, someone like Oliver Stone attached himself to this movie, right? Why Nicolas Cage became a part of it. Because there's a part of me, honestly, that just feels like he wanted to do like one of those like Academy Award winning performances or something like that. Because it felt very like, it felt very ham-fisted is what I'm trying to say. So it was a bit. You
think so?
To me, I think so, bro. I think so because the problem with making a type of movie like this, if they would have went the documentary route, it would have been an absolute, like, for sure, better way of approaching this. When you do a movie based about it, there's a lot of things you got to take into account. Like, for example, that United 93 is a movie made by Paul Greengrass. Is a way better film because it depicts not only the adrenaline that you feel inside of the plane, because it depicts essentially what happened on United 93 and the final moments and everything like that. And of course, like, there's never been video about it. So for them to recreate all the stuff based off black box recordings and stuff like that from the plane, it feels very like, you know, damn, like they went all out on trying to give you like a 1-for-1 recreation what possibly happened. So to me,
I haven't seen that movie, by the way.
I totally recommend it. Again, it's gonna ruin your mood for like the rest of the day, but it's one of those that, to me, if I were to make something depicting this, especially something more real life, it has to be authentic, bro. You cannot do this type of stuff to where it's just going to go, yeah, well, you already know about the towers. Bro, the whole thing that it's about is about the damn towers.
My kneecaps are crushed together right now. Not much of a talker, huh? Like, what? Bro.
So I'll be honest, some of those would land and not land. There's a fantastic video in regards to the humor, not in this movie, but like humor surrounding 9/11. When is it appropriate to make fun of it? When is this and that? Based off memes and everything else, but there's a perfect example I want to use off of that video on YouTube because there's a story that made the rounds, and it's on some of those documentaries like covering 9/11.
What video are you talking about?
there's a video called Humor on 9/11. When is it appropriate to joke about? Because a lot of people have this belief of like, it doesn't feel right to cover that. It doesn't feel right to sensationalize that.
Especially
a lot of the
now.
people that yeah, and it's like, but then again, when you look at examples like the Titanic, right? Is that another thing that would have been appropriate to make a movie or a romantic movie about, right? And that's in the same video that I'm talking about. They bring up the Titanic because literally either the year or two after that event, they made a movie about the incident, about the actual accident. Look it up, bro.
Titanic?
The actual Titanic, yes. Whether it's not a year, yeah, but it was like a performance. I can't remember if it was in like
It must have been a play, no?
movie. Must have been a play, yes. It must have been a play, but they did that. They did a whole performance about it, interviewing survivors of the Titanic. They even said, some of them said that they enjoyed it. So it's like, wait, what? When is it appropriate to actually make a movie about that? It's an interesting topic. It's a very delicate topic. But to me, if you're going to cover something like this, I feel like people think, because of how raw it was and how like gut-wrenching it is to see that, it's like, yeah, they're actual people, and you witnessed that, bro. We all witnessed that. And it's hard to make a movie, especially based like from Hollywood. It's hard for it to not feel like, all right, bro, this is way too much. You know what I'm saying? Like, you're trying too hard. You're just trying to make money out of this. So it never feels right. But to me, a perfect example of a movie that would depict something from that day would have been United 93. United 93 is absolutely a movie that it just feels visceral. It's always the word I find for it.
Check this out. Saved from the Titanic. Is this the one they're talking about? So it was a 1912 American silent short film. Dorothy Gibson. Wow, this is the first time I'm ever hearing about this.
Bro.
Premiering in the United States just 31 days after the event was the earliest dramatization of the tragedy. Yikes. Oh, she had been one of the 28 people aboard the first lifeboat.
Yep.
Dude, this is crazy. Yeah, I'm just learning about this right
I'm telling you, yeah. So, I would definitely recommend. I'll send you a link, and if you ever want to post it when you release this episode with it, it's an interesting video because it covers a lot of that. Another interesting point of trivia is, you know who was supposed to be in one of those planes that hit the towers?
Isn't it like Seth,
one of two people?
Seth Rogen or something like that?
No, Seth MacFarlane. Seth MacFarlane and Mark Wahlberg, bro.
Mark Wahlberg?
Yeah. Mark Wahlberg had to was scheduled to be on one of those flights but had to cancel due to plans or something like that.
Sure.
And then Seth MacFarlane had a hangover and he had just missed boarding the plane by like 10 minutes because he
How crazy if he would have done the movie Hangover.
Bro.
If he like would have been part of the movie. That would have been crazy, right? But he's done so Futurama.
He's done a lot of stuff.
Robot Chicken. This is all MK. Is all MK Ultra from our childhood, bro. Like all this stuff.
Yeah, bro.
Hellboy.
But interesting enough, it's like he's been a part of a lot of stuff, and he was scheduled to be on one of those flights, and he never boarded. So it's crazy. It's like a twist of fate in a weird way. You know what I'm saying?
Or it was all, and I'm surprised they brought up the World Trade Center 7, Building 7 in the movie, because Building 7 is one of those that people go, hey, that was a controlled demolition. And in the movie, they're like, hey, it just burned and it fell as well.
So based off official reports, what had happened was because of all the debris that happened with the plane hitting and all the parts that fell through. Listen,
official reports, dude. Official reports, official reports. All right.
Listen. That I'm just saying what they're saying, so that way we don't, we bring both sides of what's being reported. You make up your mind. I'm not
gonna get roasted
tell you
in the comments, bro. Like, look at this.
Hey,
look at this idiot.
I'm just saying. What they say is that there was a lot of fires, and that was the building's gone. It feels a little fishy. For years, I always thought too, like, it feels a little fishy. Now, could it have been a controlled demolition?
Or even a lot of say this on YouTube. I don't know. I could put this on YouTube. Yeah,
probably not. Look, I was not there. I was just a kid. All I'm saying is from what I lived and what my upbringing was, there were many times where I thought, hey, this is just too fishy. This is too weird.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, there's going to be a lot of stuff we never get answers for, bro. We're not going to get answers for a lot of stuff that happened that day. And go ahead. I know
so, okay, so we have this movie. Let me look at my notes here. It starts off how you said, you bring up a good point. It's very fast. And I thought it was a bit short for the subject material. So I asked you where we talked about where we were. Would this movie have been as successful if it wasn't on 9/11? And then the confusion, the progression of the, throughout the movie, and then right before that, where they jump to the elevator shaft, the whole part, where they're, and then when they're trapped in that scene, it reminds me of the. I don't know if when the robo first comes out. I don't know if you've seen the video of the guys that got sucked up into the oil pipe. Have you ever seen that video where I think it's in, I forgot where it is in the Caribbean. So guys sucked up into oil pipe, and there's like an entire video. So they were in the Paria diving incident in Trinidad and Tobago.
How long ago was that?
This is 2002, bro. I'm sorry, 2022. And
damn, that was recent then.
What happened was like there was this failure or something in the mechanism, and the dudes get sucked into this pipe, bro, this oil pipe, and they're alive. And one of the five guys makes it out, but the dude had a GoPro on him the entire time, so you can hear him like knocking and like talking to each other, like, "Hey, you okay?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm gonna try and make it." Only one of the guys makes it out. And then they shut the freaking pipes, bro, and leave the guys in there. Oh, and it was like this whole thing, bro. So it reminded me of that.
Crazy.
And they're talking about, right? So we have the first cage rage. You got to get him out, right? He's like, no, you got to get him out. That was the first one.
Yeah.
And then we have.
No, how are you going to forget about the super slow motion? Bro, that took me out of the entire movie. That was an example as to why I felt like this movie wasn't going to work. Just because I was like, damn, sorry, bro. I'm trying to take it for what it is, and I knew he was gonna dial it back and give more of a, real performance, but I couldn't, bro. With Nick Cage in the role like that, I'm like, nah, bro. I'm laughing. I'm sorry, I'm laughing. I know what I said about living those days, but I laughed my ass off, bro.
Who would you have picked? If
to be honest, you don't want to cast a recognizable actor. For roles like this, if you're going to do something based on real life, you don't go with someone that's well known. Because it's like, why would you put Brad Pitt in this? You're not going to watch the movie thinking, oh, he's this guy. You're watching the movie going, oh, that's Brad Pitt.
But they kind of, let me pull up the guys. Oh my goodness. Look at this. So, do they look alike?
Nah, not really. Look up, I know on IMDb they actually have a photo of him like from the 2000s.
Yeah,
John McLaughlin. Yeah.
IMDb. We got World Trade Center.
Because he's got the mustache and everything. The mustache comes back, bro.
Yeah, that was one of my notes. He looks great with the mustache.
Yeah.
So you said that golly.
There's a photo of him there. He's actually credited in the story, like written by John McLaughlin, as in real story, true story.
I can't find the picture, but this other actor, his name is Michael Pena. He's like one of these actors that is recognizable, but it doesn't seem like he ever. What's another big movie?
End of Watch was a great movie.
Oh yes, that was a good movie.
Yep.
That was a good movie. Wasn't that with the Gyllenhaal too? Yeah, it was. Jake Gyllenhaal
too. Yeah. Yep. He was.
That's
in it
weird,
too.
Bro. That they're in this movie together, and then he's with his sister in this other movie. I don't know.
Something weird here, bro.
Ant-Man, Million Miles Away, Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan, Moonfall.
He's been a part of a lot of stuff.
A lot of stuff, dude.
Funny stuff too. I don't know if you recognize him or not, but the guy who plays Punisher.
Yes.
Was also in this movie. This was his first movie, John Bernthal. Yep.
John Bernthal, we have.
So William Jimeno, the one right there, that's the real guy that was trapped. Him. right? He was also there. He was the one that Michael Pena portrays.
Yeah.
He's in the movie two
Right here.
times. Yes, he's in the movie two
Is
times.
he really?
Yes, he's in the part with where he's got the Port Authority, and when they get there, and they're like, oh, looking up, and they're like, oh, wow, what's going on? And then he's the one that goes, Sarge! And he points out to that. It's a quick, like, blink and you miss it moment. And then McLaughlin, the one that Nicolas Cage portrays, he makes a cameo at the end of the movie with the other guy, Jimeno, as they're all celebrating and, like, you know, like a celebration of them making it out and stuff like that. They're the movie as like a, you know, like a thing for them. You know what I mean?
So are both of these guys still alive? Because one of the main things
I want to say yes on Jimeno probably, but I'm not sure about
he's Colombian, bro.
McLaughlin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jimeno's still alive. He's still alive. So as a Colombian American author and retired Port Authority of New York and New Jersey Police Department officer.
Yep.
So he is from Barranquilla, Colombia.
So
they were buried for 13 hours, dude. So
yeah, 13 hours.
That's wild, bro. Can you imagine? Yeah. I mean, I can't imagine, but how helpless they must have felt. They must have
felt that whole time. I was gonna share too. One of the things that Nick Cage did, which you're gonna get a real kick out of, because I think you'll remember from talking about it way back when you first started this. Nick Cage went through several sessions, I want to say, of the tank. What's it called? The deprivation
sensory
tank?
deprivation.
Sensory deprivation tank. Yep, simulations or whatever they
for
call
what?
That. For this movie to get a he claims that he went through a couple of those sessions to get the feeling of the claustrophobia and the tightness that they were experiencing, to kind of, like, you know, pull from that in preparation for this role.
From my I think they call it Nervo acting or shamanism, where Nick Cage believes in getting into character by becoming the character. So that would make a lot of sense that he would do something like that in order to feel what they were feeling. Because again, it was kind of a way of, like, if you think about it, and again, I can't relate until you're in there, but imagine wanting to move and not being able because you're pinned down by something. You know, I don't know if your dad, when you were a kid, would, you know, play around with you and pin you down and not let you move. Down, It's like, I do that with my kids, and it's like that type of feeling where you can't move. It's gotta be rough, you know. So
especially for 13 hours, bro.
For 13 hours, dude. So we have that whole thing, and obviously there's a mixture of the portrayals of their family, and I'm sure, again, this is one of those movies where when it tells you it's based on true events, you don't know which was true or which was you know what I'm saying? Like, you don't know which was actual historically or factual versus the embellishment. And I feel like a lot of the stuff that was put
I'll give you a perfect example of that. You want to know what was a perfect example of that? There is a character in this movie that is not Michael Shannon's character. It's one called Jason Thomas. Now, he is portrayed, to give you context, he was disappeared shortly after 9/11, after, like, helping out in the rubble, because there's that, you know, that section where there's, like, the two military dudes that go out to help, the two Marine guys. One of them was identified as Jason Thomas. I'm just going to read off the trivia piece here. He was a former Marine who grabbed his uniform and immediately drove to Ground Zero to help. Because his identity was unknown at the time of filming, Sergeant Thomas, who is black, was portrayed by a white actor. The producers have since apologized to Sergeant Thomas for this miscasting. However, Thomas laughed it off and told them not to be concerned, stating, "I don't want to shed any negativity on what they were trying to show." Now, on other interviews that I've seen of this guy, he didn't really want to relish in, like, fame or fortune or any of that stuff, because he didn't feel like it was right based off the events, you know. But I find it, I'll be honest, I find it really funny, especially if it would have happened in modern times right now, that they would have got something like that
Would have got
by
slaughtered,
mistake.
bro.
Bro, I'm like, wow, that's incredible. And it's like by the time they found out, they already wrapped up filming that. So like you could just imagine that these guys were like, nah, man, this movie's not gonna make it. But no, everything was how it was. I just find that hilarious that they ended up portraying one of the real people that were there entirely different.
Oh man!
Oh,
So
man.
the figure of Jesus was Steve Chappelle. Who is Steve Chappelle?
Who is Steve Chappelle?
Oh man, he's only he's actually been in a few movies. So Steve Chappelle is actor, director, editor. Steve is known for World Trade Center, Jenny, and the Picnic.
Picnic.
What?
Okay.
A small town illicit affair. Her jealous.
Oh, it's
husband.
just like an 8. Yeah, it's an 8-minute.
Bro, who is this? He is Jesus. He's Jesus in this movie, dude. They would have.
I have no idea.
Who is this guy?
I don't know. I see plenty of them there.
Yeah, there he is right there. Look at that debut right there, dude.
He's got to be either somebody that was like close to the director or something.
Oh, look at him shooting the clip.
The scene, yeah.
Wow.
Oh.
Oh yeah, he's like.
You know what's funny?
I ain't drink
that
the bottle
scene,
of water.
You know what that reminds me of? And this is more music centric rather than like anything else. But for some reason, that Jesus imagery there reminded me of Nirvana with Heart Shaped Box. If you ever seen the music video for that, I don't know why it gave me that vibe, but it just does.
No, I haven't seen that. You said Nirvana, yeah. What?
Nirvana Heart Shaped Box. It just has some like Jesus imagery and Nirvana based off how they were at that time, like, just did shit just to provoke.
Yeah. I see that. I never really listened to Nirvana, so I mean, obviously they're one song that everybody knows.
Yeah.
So, what else you got left? I mean,
for me, another thing based off what we were talking about, I know I missed this detail, but around that time, the city of New York completely prohibited recreation of anything involving 9/11. So they had to film a lot of the stuff that would have been at World Trade Center in Los Angeles. So This is why I feel like it's so strange, because I'm like, why make the movie at that point in time? It's like, I find it really odd is what I'm trying to say. Because you would think if they want to tell the story, they could tell it. And this is based off 2 real people that were there. Right. And other people, of course, the ones that they portray that passed away in the movie and everything. But it's so weird, bro. Again, like for it being the first movie, like Hollywood made movie, I feel like there was a lot of potential that was missed, especially when doing this. You can't do it in the movie. You just can't. The only thing that I felt like was pretty authentic was the desperation of the wives and the partners, wanting to hear where their where their partners were, trying to find out anything, the whole realization of just what happened and what's going on and being confused. I always feel like those are elements that they should focus on a lot more, rather than kind of doing this whole oh, look, and this is what he saw. I get that, it was a real life thing, but if you're doing it I'm looking at it from the point of view of what is going to speak out to people. And this is always a touchy subject. That's why for me, I rather rely on the documentaries that are based off the people that lived those events. Now, talking about the political and all the conspiracy stuff, that's other areas. To me, I feel like it hits a lot harder when it comes from people that survive that. And they're literally telling you as they're telling their story, I thought I was going to die. I was ready to die. Jimeno, in many of the times he tells his story, he does the this sign here is the sign language for I love you. It's like I love you. I remember he did that in one of the one that I talked about One Day in America. He said that when he felt like his body was completely crushed and that he couldn't feel like he could do anything, there was a moment in the movie when you hear all the rumbling and all the stuff going on. he knew that at that moment, everything could have been crashing down again. And he's like, all right, this is where I die. If I'm going to die right now, I'm going to cross my arms and do the sign because I want my daughter, when they tell her how they found me, to know that that was the sign that I made for her. Bro, hearing that just by itself, to me, it starts getting me choked up.
He didn't do that in the movie, right? He didn't do that.
He didn't.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things that, to me, it's a lot more impactful coming from the people that live those things. Hollywood just can't generate something that will, get close to that. And I find it really odd in the choice that Nick Cage did with this movie, because years down the line, and I remember this from our first episode, he does a movie where he portrays an old man wanting to kill Osama bin Laden. So I'm like,
with a samurai sword, was it that one? Something like that?
Yeah. And I'm like, what's the message here? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's really interesting because, again, it's like all the pieces that were there that you would have thought, okay, this is going to lean more conspiracies, theory, and stuff. Mm-hmm. It's really odd. It's really odd. One piece I was gonna tell you too, from that comedy. I definitely recommend everybody watch the comedy of 9/11.
His wife is a screenwriter too, by the way.
For who?
So Allison Jimeno, she's a screenwriter, and she's written World Trade Center. Never mind. 9/11, the Lost Hero.
Yeah, so she's been involved in a lot of like the documentary stuff too when telling the story. I was gonna say is that to do a comedy and something like that, people often feel like it's inappropriate, but based off the video that I was telling you and that I would want the rest of the audience to watch, there's a part that comes from one of the documentaries from one of those 9/11 survivors that as they were running when the rubble was coming down and all the smoke was coming through, they went to a bar that wasn't open just yet. And they were knocking crazy and knocking to get in. And obviously the barkeep doesn't know what.
Oh, we lost you. They don't want us to know what the barkeeper was doing, Daniel. You need to fix your internet, dude, because we can't keep doing this. If we're going to do this show. Yeah, I can hear you now, bro.
Okay. So what I was saying, the barkeep, when he tells his side of the story, is that he's cleaning, getting ready, and they're knocking at the door, and he doesn't see what's happening outside. So they're knocking, and he's like, "We open at 11." Bro, that's funny. That's funny. Like, you got to be real about it.
Okay,
There's something that happened that day that is genuine and it's authentic. And when you tame it all down and make it all cookie cutter Hollywood stuff, it's like, to say that it was all trash, it wasn't all trash. Because obviously you're telling the story here. But you have people that were like attached to this film, like Oliver Stone, that's known for making like more like, yo, government's lying to you. Like, this is the conspiracy theory. What was the intention here?
Yeah.
That's the part that confuses me, bro. Like, what was the point of this movie?
Well, so with all that said, okay, we know it's got its flaws. Have there been any other movies by Hollywood that have been this big in regards to 9/11, other than documentaries, obviously? Have there been? There you go again, Daniel. You see, this is what I got to deal with. Very unprofessional internet connection here. Look at him. Look how frozen he is, bro. Look at him. Look at that face of a frozen man. So I don't know if there's been any other movies. Oh, there you go.
There's been few movies actually. Like there's actually one. Yeah, there's one that's quite interesting that revolves around I think it's a gay couple, or no, it's like gay roommates that end up dude, that movie was trash. That movie was bad.
Is this Whoopi Goldberg? Is that her name?
Yeah.
Isn't this guy? Isn't he like
Charlie Sheen? Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, bro. No, that's a bad one. It's bad in the sense that it's just.
Have you seen it?
Yeah, I saw it. It's.
There's a lot of movies that were on 9/11.
They try, but to get something close to that, Zero Dark 30 was more about taking out Osama bin Laden. I don't know if you've seen that one.
I think I did.
Yeah. But what I was gonna say was there's one, I forgot the actual name of it, but like there's one that revolves around like some roommates that end up like dating each other, and they're like, you know, two gay guys. But what's and it's not a comedy, no, it's literally
It is
about,
a comedy. It's funny.
well, listen, it's about that, but it's literally days after 9/11. And one of the things that I feel like they always miss from making these movies is the culture around that time. So there's a part where they're like arguing and they're saying, listen, it's not that I want to blah, blah, blah. And they're in an apartment in New York. And then they start hearing an airplane flying over. And dude, they literally just stop and go, that's all that you need to see for you to understand, like, yo, the culture shock.
Yeah, and the culture shock, and also your internet shock too from all the times you've cut out during this conversation. So there have been a lot of movies on 9/11. Flight 93 is also one of them. I'm going to have to check these out. Oh, there's Flight 93.
The government's lying to you. The government's lying. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. So what I was just trying to say is that they don't really replicate the feelings and stuff that were around that. It feels more like, you know, they're just trying and not doing a good job. Not doing a good job.
So what are we going to rate this on the Cage Rage meter? And I mean, this doesn't have to do anything really with how many times Cage rages, but
if I were to rate the movie based off the movie itself,
give it a 7.
It's fine, yeah. To me, it's like a 6. It's
6.
just, it felt very tame.
It's me in the middle, 6.5.
6.5. Let's give it 6.5. Sure.
Give it a 6.5. Here, let me copy and paste this over here. Let's give this an old 6.5 here. Yeah. Honestly, I enjoyed it. And okay. I didn't enjoy it, but I enjoyed the performance and I wasn't particularly tricky, man. Yeah, I wasn't particularly excited
to do something to
watch this movie. And I'm excited to see what we get next. So here, we've done this one. Let me fill in this little thing here. Oh.
Generate that next number before my internet cuts out again.
Yeah, I got you, bro. I got you. Let me.
I'm kidding.
Here, there we go. So we got that one. All right. So we've done 3 so far. Here we go. Yep. Now I got a wheel, bro.
Oh, here we go. Here we go.
So how do I do this? Okay, let's. There it goes. It's spinning. It's spinning. Are we supposed to stop it? Wow, that's fun for a long time. 79. All right.
79. All right.
It's like music and everything over here. All right, let's see. What do we got? 79. Lucky number 79. What is this? Pay the... Oh, I've seen this movie. Pay the Ghost, bro.
Oh, my gosh.
I've seen this. This movie is bizarre, okay? So, here we go. Pay the Ghost, 2015 supernatural horror film. Directed by Uli Adele. The screenplay was written by Dan Kay based on a short story of the same name by Tim Laban. The film stars Nicolas Cage, Sarah Wayne Callies.
She was she was in The Walking Dead.
Veronica Marie.
I don't know where she was from. I don't know.
Casilia Ferez, Jack Fulton, Elizabeth. Okay, so anyways, the plot. Professor Franklin searches for his son who was abducted during. All right, so Pay the Ghost. We're gonna watch it, and it's gonna be freaking awesome because it's not about 9/11. So it'll be good. It'll be great.
Hail Nicolas Cage.
I'm excited. Evil. Look at that. Evil walks among us. I
can't wait, bro.
Here we go. All right. Oh yeah, this is gonna be good. Gonna be good, bro. I'm excited. Are you excited? Where can we watch it? Let's see where we can watch it. You can watch it on Tubi for free or Pluto TV. Wow, you can watch it on all these things. Look at Amazon Prime.
Oh yeah, because Amazon do carry a lot of his movies. Yeah.
Tubi. Yeah. All right, so there you go. People watch it on there.
People ask, is Pay the Ghost worth watching? Well, find out when we cover it on the next episode.
Oh man, look at that. All right, there we there's a little spoiler in there, so don't.
Yep.
Anyways, This was fun, Daniel.
Oh yeah, man.
I enjoy the style. Let us know what you think. If you like this sort of style where, we throw in extracurricular conversation as we're going about this review, I guess, and we jump around a little bit. I think it's a good flow, other than your internet.
Yeah,
but
other than my internet, yeah. I'm working on it, folks.
And just know that we're 1 degree. Bro, Wes is my friend, dude. Wes Cage is my friend, my amigo. Okay.
Hell yeah.
So this is probably the most authentic Nick Cage podcast you're ever going to get. And who knows? I mean, I might manifest the man himself.
Who knows?
Listen, Daniel.
He could just pop up right behind you wearing that alien mask, bro.
Listen, real quick for
know.
the listeners. If I can get one person away from Nick Cage, just know that anything in this dimension is possible. Okay? If you put your mind to it, it will happen. So just take that. And I've taken that, and I'm like, there's no way this is real. Okay? And just if you apply yourself, you will get results. So just keep that in mind. If me, regular Joe Schmo, is able to get one person away from Nick Cage, you can do anything you set your mind to. So with that said, Daniel, want to plug anything before we get out of here? This was fun.
If you want to follow me, you know where to search me anywhere and everywhere at Daniel Rockstar, RCKSTR.
Awesome. And as always, everyone, catch you on the next one.
Hail Nicolas Cage. Nicolas Cage as Jesus Christ.
They made a mistake by not having Nick Cage as the figure. Okay. All right. Bye.